Live from Pruitt Field on a crisp October day in Athens, it's the Big Ten Conference versus the Mid-American Conference in Sunday matinee action as the Ohio Bobcats take on the visiting Michigan State Spartans. Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast booth. My name is Sedric Granger and I'm joined by Ethan Sargent. And Ethan, the Bobcats had a tough out against Kent State on Friday, losing that one 4-3. What were some of the reasons why they weren't able to pull off that victory? Good morning from Pruitt Field on the banks of the Hockin River as today's matchup on Ohio Bobcat TV is the Kent State Golden Flashes and the Ohio Bobcats. Now Harlock tried to get something going and then commits the infraction, so the Bobcats defense able to win that battle. We'll see who wins the war as the game continues to go on. Michigan State has been a very slow starting team throughout this season. They have been outscored 7-3 in the opening quarter of the game. So if there's any time and any team to get a fast start against, it is Michigan State. However, they'll have to watch out because later in the game, third quarters are what Michigan State is best at, where they have dominated that quarter 7-2. As it looked like the ball might have hit the toes of Lichtenberg, but no call, and Michigan State has possession, working quickly on a counterattack into Ohio territory. 4 minutes into the game, no score, as the Spartans will try to break their 3-game losing streak today. They had a tough schedule. I mean, check this out, Ethan. Last week, they had to play at Penn State and at Maryland, both top 6 teams according to the National Field Hockey Coaches Association poll. And then they had to go at Ohio State this past Friday. They lost all 3 games, and of course the Ohio State game, they lost in heartbreaking fashion, losing 1-2 in overtime to their rivals. And speaking of rivalries, they got to play Michigan coming up next, and Michigan ranks in the top 10 as well. So this is pivotal for Michigan State if they want to compete for a spot for an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament.
No, and as you were just saying, I think you kind of said what I'm going to say here, and that the Big Ten is an absolute mess. There are a number of extremely talented squads that are all throughout, especially in that Big Ten West, where you see you've got 5 or 6 ranked teams, and then a couple others that are just right outside there. So it is really struggling. It is going to be a big struggle for Michigan State to find a way here to get out and get into that conference when, you know, every game is going to be a slugfest. And these are the sort of games that if you're a Michigan State fan, you're like, okay, we have to get this one to get that momentum, because when they've lost 3 in a row, you know, you don't want to have a 4th loss in a row and then have to go play, you know, Michigan, your biggest rival, on low momentum. But the same does go for Ohio. They're on a 2-game losing streak as well. They need to find a way to get some momentum as MAC play is going to start heating up here soon.
We'll certainly do, of course, trying to get that first Big Ten win. The Big Ten has been a thorn in the Ohio Bobcats side as of lately, losing games to Ohio State, Michigan State, of course, last year, and falling to Indiana the year before that as well. So a lot of tough losses. They've been close in games. The Michigan State game last year was definitely a very competitive match, and even though the score said 2-0, it was great defense by both sides. But nevertheless, the Bobcats will need to overcome the Big Ten. And one really great thing about field hockey relative to a lot of other sports along the NCAA landscape, bigger schools are not afraid to go on the road to play MAC schools or smaller schools, and it's more based off region, according to assistant coach Luis Abadi, where, hey, if a team is in your region, it makes sense to play them.
Yeah, and then, you know, speaking of that, next week, the Bobcats will host, I believe a week from today, next Sunday, they'll host the Buckeyes here of Ohio State at Pruitt Field. We'll have that call for you right here on Ohio Bobcat TV, but it'll be another, you know, exciting matchup. And of course, you know, anytime Ohio gets to play Ohio State in any sort of sport, it is always an interesting affair, as, you know, there's always that, you know, slight rivalry, even though Ohio State is, of course, a much bigger program in most senses of the word. I remember when they came here for the softball game back in April, you know, they packed out the softball OSF over there. So, you know, it's always a good opportunity, like you said, to get those regional games in any Big Ten school, especially, you know, the schools like these, Michigan State, Ohio State, these big-time programs. It's a great opportunity for exposure, and it's also just a good opportunity to be playing against some really, really solid teams, as I mentioned earlier, because MAC play is going to only get more difficult as we go into the business end of the season here.
Yeah, it's definitely a great challenge for a lot of these Bobcat players as they're looking to try to get a little bit of an offensive presence, working near the attacking circle for the first time, but to no avail. Free hit for Michigan State. Defense showcasing themselves to be pretty strong early on here for Michigan State. So they'll get the free hit where it's stolen by a Nuke Plan, and she'll try to work it up. There's Wesley Littlefield now with possession. Kind of retreats back, looking for her teammates, and Ohio being patient with 8 minutes into the game. No score from Pruitt Field as the weather has become a little bit more crisp than usual. As Caitlin Whittle now with the ball. She has 4 goals on the season, and then the ball is taken away quickly by Michigan State going the other direction. Great play by Ellie Rutherford, the sophomore, who has 4 goals on the season. She tries to pass it up to her teammate, but puts a little bit too much on it, rolls out the back. Free hit for Ohio.
Yeah, looking for Kim Smit, the freshman from the Netherlands up there, who has come into the game as a substitute.
And now the Bobcats substitute a couple of new players into the match. As Ohio, even though they don't have as many players as most teams around the NCAA, they're 18 players. They can use that to at least leverage a couple of substitutions. However, one of their big problems in that Kent State match was that there were not enough substitutions, and especially in the overtime match where it becomes a 6-on-6 affair, or 7-on-7, but 6-on-6 with field players, you could easily get outraced and have holes that usually wouldn't be there in the normal 11-on-11 format, and that's designed, of course, to make sure that a team can win the game in overtime. However, it's just not to Ohio's advantage this year with how many players they have, as now Michigan State works to the attacking circle. Fighting in is Jarvie, trying to box out, trying to look for room, and the ball is poked out. DeKotla now receives the ball on the far sideline, pokes it off of a defender from Michigan State. That's Boncheski who knocks it out. Ohio with the free hit, as no team has seemed to be in front thus far. It's been more in Ohio territory relatively, but overall it's been a stalemate.
Yeah, like you said, it's 60 minutes of a lot of running, a lot of hitting, and the fatigue definitely sets in. And when you don't have, as many bodies on the bench, it does become a lot more difficult, especially in those third and fourth quarters, to continue to run, to continue to make the plays that you're trying to make. It gets harder on the bodies, especially in a game like today after you played a 67-minute marathon against Kent State earlier this week. It's a struggle.
Beautiful pass out there to DeKotla, trying to tightrope the line, and that ball is kicked away, but it goes right back to DeKotla, as the goalkeeper, Jardell, tried to force a play outside the attacking circle to no avail. It's a penalty corner, the first one of the day for the Bobcats. And they were very successful on their penalty corners. It was Noah DeMarais as well as Mila Kopp getting scores on penalty corners in the matchup against Kent State. And they'll try to strike first here against the Spartans here in the 11th minute of the game. Bobcats with their first penalty corner.
These are the sort of opportunities that you just have to take advantage of, especially, knowing the level of competition, knowing that you're maybe not going to get a ton of opportunities. You have to take advantage here and get at least something on target. Test the gloves of Monique Jardell.
So it'll be DeMarais passing it in. Caitlin Whittle on the left wing. Mila Kopp at the top of the key. DeKotla at the right wing. Some players potentially to watch. They're going to set it up. It's going to be Plan out to Kopp on the left wing. Kopp fires a shot, and that shot is scored. It's a goal for the Bobcats. Mila Kopp makes it 2 straight games with a goal. That's her 3rd overall of the season. Bobcats in front here in the 11th minute.
Executed to perfection there. It seemed like that one was right out of practice. Just a great pass into the attacking circle, and then it's right back through, and it just gets by Jardell in the net, and the Bobcats take an early lead. Now the question becomes, Cedric, can they make it stick?
And after not getting any shots, or barely any shots, with only 2 shots on goal last year against Michigan State, to get a goal against a defensive team like this, quite impressive for the Bobcats. Really showcases improvement from year to year, as these Big Ten games can often serve as measuring sticks. Sedric Granger with OhioBobcatTV here with Coach Louisa. And recently, I just want to know what's been going well for the team. There's been 3 wins where you had that weak stretch where you took care of Central Michigan, Bellarmine, and St. Francis without giving up a single goal. So just talk to me about the good things that happened in that stretch.
Yeah, I think it's just been like stuff coming together, and we just got the job done for those games. Like on paper, we should have won them, and it's just nice that we were able to do it with a clean sheet. So we're just really happy that we committed to the cause and really got those goals and put the teams to bed. So it's been good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then, like, inversely, there's been some good things that have gone on. I'm sure there's some areas of improvement. What are some of the areas of growth from those games, also including the Indiana game that just recently happened?
Yeah, so it's quite a step up from teams like Central Michigan to Indiana. And coming off the win with Bellarmine, like, our focus was actually App State. So playing Indiana, it's like just a chance for us to try things out and get different people in, and also to rest some legs. So we always learn things from playing those games, and unfortunately we got a second stroke called against us, which was not a stroke. So it was probably a 2-0 game, ended 3-0, but we got good things come out of it, and also stuff we need to work on. Yeah.
Interesting. So were there like a lot of younger players that got some playing time in the Indiana game?
Yeah, absolutely. We managed to do almost the final quarter with a load of people in that don't get a load of minutes, so it's been really good for us to get the legs rested, because we've been doing a lot of games, and it's that time of the season where people are really sore and tired. So and to get more people experience in those games is awesome.
Yeah, speak to me about like October's too, because you were mentioning how this is kind of like a tougher season. In what ways has this been kind of tough for your players during this time?
It's just like playing 2 games a weekend is exhausting, and then we had a couple of overtimes game, and just like the opportunity we get to recover from that it's basically 1 day a week, so it's not a lot. So by this time of the season, we just have midterms, everyone's really tired. It's just trying to keep people's legs happy at this point. Like, I mean, we cancelled lift for the past couple of weeks because we don't need the extra stress on our legs, and we just need to make it through the season. So we're saving ourselves.
Yeah, it seems like you as a coaching staff are doing a great job of being able to help your team kind of get through this time. And